So 2021 is about to end. Surprise? It was fast. But we decided to take a backseat of reviewing all the smartphone devices and give you an idea about which smartphone brand performed the best or worst in 2021. Now you ask Pratik, how does that help us as consumers? Well, buying a smartphone or a brand device is not only one purchase decision but a long-term relationship of 2 to 3 years. So it really helps to know the brand before you pay out your valuable money to them. So this is Pratik, you're already watching TechWiser, and you should subscribe to TechWiser to stay wiser and hit the bell icon as well. So to make this process simple, we would rate brands in tiers. So first up, we have the GOAT tier, wherein there could be the best undisputed brand which made a huge comeback or had the best flawless 2021 year. Next is very solid tier. Apart from 1-2 hiccups, everything was just great. Then you have did the job tier, which is did a couple of good jobs and rest of the year was meh. Last is you know it, I know it tier, which I mean, it's not the tier at least the brand wanted to be in. It was just unlucky or unfortunate. Now straight up, we'll talk about Samsung. I would put Samsung in the very solid tier. Now you would be like, what? Well, listen to me. Samsung was the first brand to say we'll provide 3 years of software update and 4 years of security updates in February 2021. And for budget M series, 2 years of software update and still 4 years of security updates. Then Vivo, Oppo, Google, everyone followed suit. Again, S20 FE 5G was one of the best phones in my best and worst smartphones of 2021 series. Then A52 and M52 5G were also good phones. One UI was really good and star of 2021. Even Android 11 and Android 12 picked up features from One UI like one-handed mode, floating tabs, etc. But you would be like, Pratik, what about Samsung budget releases like A32, A22? They were controversial devices as well. Well, I would agree with that, and this even showed in numbers. If you look at smartphone sale numbers in 2021, Samsung share went on decreasing and people bought more and more Xiaomi, Realme and other smartphones. So in that case, what we would do is, we would put Samsung flagship and mid-range in the very solid tier and Samsung budget phones in did the job tier. Split it like they split full One UI and core One UI. It's OnePlus. Fair disclaimer, I'm a huge OnePlus fanboy. And they say you criticize the most the person whom you love the most. So this might sound like a breakup, but OnePlus starting from OnePlus 9 and OnePlus 9 Pro didn't have any good releases this year. Except Nord 2. Nord 2 was a really good phone. But then unfortunately, there were whole blast things. Still, there's no clear brief from OnePlus about those incident or devices. I think if I start talking about OnePlus in 2021, that will be a whole big video. Or we might do that. But to keep it short, OnePlus is the first brand to go to the you know it, I know it tier, like straight up. The whole Oxygen OS and Color OS merger and the update bugs didn't leave a good impression on existing or old OnePlus users. Now again, I might be harsh to OnePlus, but you criticize the most the ones you love the most. Next up would be our favorite brand, I would say, Motorola, which made a really good comeback in 2021. Now, if you're an Android enthusiast like me, you would love this Motorola comeback. Earlier, Moto G40 Fusion, Moto G60 were kind of bulky phones, competitive nonetheless, but the market sentiment in 2021 was pro AMOLED. Everyone wanted an AMOLED phone with lots of 5G bands, and for a brand, they corrected it. They went ahead, released Moto H20 Fusion, Moto H20, Moto H20 Pro, which not only had good hardware, but they were also cheaper than the competition. Then came Moto G31, first G series budget phone to have an OLED display, and then G51, which in my opinion was the least compromised budget 5G phone of 2021. They are understanding the Indian market. If you look at Moto G31 and Moto G51 Europe and Indian pricing, there's a difference of about 20 to 30%. And in Europe they provide 10-watt charger, whereas in India they provide 20-watt charger plus software customizations for Indian market too. So for that, you guys would also agree, the Android enthusiast in me will put Motorola in the very solid tier. Only one feedback to Motorola would be their phones are good and well launched, but they're not able to create that marketing around such a good product. Like for example, you know Xiaomi is coming up with Mi 11i Hypercharge, which has 120-watt fast charging, India's fastest charging phone. It's all over Twitter all the time. But do you know Motorola is going to launch probably the cheapest Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 phone. Moto X30 is priced $500 in China, which is roughly around 37,000. Yes. If you don't know, that's the marketing gap. Next up is Realme. Now, Realme is a company that strongly competes with Xiaomi, which is the #1 smartphone maker in India. But 2021 was really interesting. Realme focused on releasing budget 5G phones, which Xiaomi wasn't doing, and plus they sold a lot of phones on discount during the Big Billion Day and Diwali sale. For example, they sold a lot of phones like Realme GT Master Edition, Realme X7 Max, Realme GT Neo 2 during the sale. Now these phones are priced around 30,000, but during the sale people bought it for 19, 20, 21,000, and you know, as Indians, me and you both love a lot of discounts. In fact, Realme sold 1.7 lakh Realme GT Master Edition during the Flipkart Big Billion Day Diwali sale. So now Realme has become that popular sale brand, and not to take any credit away from Realme, they do make really good phones, but I'll still put Realme in the very solid tier. Because Realme was also famous for releasing too many phones. Now if you keep counting Realme 4G and 5G phones in budget, that's Realme 8, Realme 8i, Realme 8 Pro, Realme Nazo 30, Realme Nazo 30 Pro, Realme... I'm done counting. If you can count for us, let us know in the comments, we'll pin your comment. The point being, Realme released a lot of phones with very few changes. However, it was a great year for Realme nonetheless. Now let's talk about the #1 smartphone brand in the world, Xiaomi. Xiaomi has an image of providing the best hardware for the price, and they maintained this image in 2021 as well with their killer Redmi Note 10 series. It was also my best smartphone list for 2021. I remember when the phone was announced, it just killed the market. Like, a lot of smartphone launches had to shift because of the Redmi Note 10 series launch. These phones are still killer by the end of the year, and not just Note 10 series, their other phones were also pretty good. They always follow the strategy of pricing their phones just below the competition, and it always works for them. So I'll put Xiaomi in the very solid tier, but not in good. See, the reason for that is MIUI. MIUI was still infamous for the entire year for the bugs. The only complaint people had from Xiaomi phones was MIUI. Like, kudos to Xiaomi, they decreased a lot of bloat and ads in the phone, but bugs is something Xiaomi need to work on. Next, the price hike. Redmi Note 10 series had price hikes, and not one, not two, but Redmi Note 10 got its price hike 5 times, which is insane. Now, I know it's COVID, supply chain issues, but as a consumer in budget segment, price hikes even 500 or 1000 INR means a lot. Like, Redmi Note 10 at 11,999 is a great phone, but at 14,000, it's a really different phone. That too, if it's available. But having said all of that, Xiaomi was the best performing smartphone company in 2021. We would personally like to cover more Xiaomi phones going forward in 2022. And next up is probably the most underrated smartphone company in terms of innovation and camera. Yes, I'm talking about Vivo flagships. Whenever we talk about camera and good smartphone camera phones, it is always the Pixel or the iPhone. But Vivo X70 series is quite underrated, and it is one of the best smartphone camera flagship of 2021. So I'll put up Vivo straight in the very solid tier. Now, many of you might ask, what about Vivo mid-range or Vivo budget? Now, we personally haven't covered a lot of Vivo budget or mid-range phones, and neither there were so many releases. So I won't comment on something I haven't personally experienced firsthand. Same goes with Oppo phones. We didn't review any Oppo phone in 2021. I remember there was only one video on the Oppo Reno 6 Pro camera. So we wouldn't personally talk on phones we haven't experienced firsthand. The only feedback for Vivo would be they aren't launching enough budget phones, but I think Vivo is moving more towards a premium segment and becoming a flagship, and iQOO is the brand that is positioned toward budget and mid-range phones. And talking about iQOO, iQOO generally has an image of flagship killer, but they don't launch phones frequently or even barely. However, things changed for iQOO in 2021. They had really good competitive phones this year. Like, iQOO 7 was really well priced. I don't think there's a better 30,000 phone than iQOO 7. And funny thing, iQOO 7 was a gaming phone, and traditionally we think gaming phones don't have good cameras. But iQOO 7 beat most of the under 30k phone like Mi 11X Note 2 in camera. And even iQOO 7 Legend was the cheapest Snapdragon 888 phone. Now, iQOO Z5 and iQOO Z3 was also good gaming, powerful phones, but I think the whole market sentiment has now shifted to AMOLED phones. People are preferring AMOLED phones over LCD, so those iQOO Z series phones and even Poco gaming phones didn't make enough buzz. So I would still keep iQOO at very solid tier. Like, one complaint was iQOO 3. A lot of people still bought iQOO 3 in the sale, and that phone is now completely abandoned. It still has iQOO OS and not FunTouch OS. No update is provided to the old phones as well. So hopefully that thing should change now. iQOO is now promising 2 years of software updates and 3 years of security updates. So We'll also keep a check on that. Now, some brands deserve honorable mention. We didn't officially make a video on those phones, but we did have fair enough experience with them off the camera. Infinix had a really good release in Infinix Note 11. A lot of Team TW members told us in the comments, and also SNL 9pm. So Infinix did launch a few good phones, did the job what was expected, so it goes to did the job tier. Next up, Micromax and Lava, both of them started with the Chini Come campaign or Make in India smartphones, but that campaign didn't really hold well in the long term, and neither the phones were separated, so both of them in the you know it, I know it tier. Next up, Apple. Apple really released a good iPhone 13 Pro, but again, no great innovation was there in the flagship range. Plus, iPhone 12 sold really well under 15,000, but that iPhone was released in 2020. Google, on the other hand, released Google Pixel 6, which is a really good phone and quite innovative, but it wasn't released in many countries, stock issues, and especially not available in India. So both Apple and Google go to did the job tier. Now you would be like, Pratik, if there's no smartphone brand that is in the GOAT tier, why do we have the GOAT tier in the first place? Well, it's like scoring 100%. Not many people do it, but that's where the aim should be. So maybe 2022, we'll find a brand under the GOAT tier. On that note, Happy New Year everyone. Stay healthy, wealthy and wiser. Pratik signing off. Maybe for the last time in 2021. See you on the other side of the year. Pew pew.